We're back with our expert panel answering your questions about the upcoming viral illness season. It's worth noting that until recently, there wasn't an RSV vaccine, unlike the flu and COVID shots. Now there's one available for those 60 and older, as well as for children and pregnant women. But it's important to note that, except for Ontario, no province or territory has committed to covering its cost for seniors this season. Ontario took a step forward last week by announcing coverage for seniors in high-risk facilities like long-term care homes. So why do you think, Dr. Gorfinkel, provinces are hesitating on covering this vaccine? And for those who want it, what are they looking for in terms of cost?
So 2 reasons why they're hesitating. First is because of cost. The vaccine itself goes for $260, and most places are going to charge around $290.
That's a big barrier.
Oh, absolutely. That's somebody's rent. Yeah. That's somebody's grocery bill. Yeah. So that's number one. And number two, the research they're relying on is sponsored by the maker of the vaccine, right? So GlaxoSmithKline has made RXV, which is the sole vaccine now available to RSV. And so they're hoping for broader data, like real-world data. So it's one thing to have it in a controlled experiment, even if it is multiple thousands of patients, as it were. But, it's quite another story to have real-world data with real populations.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to our rapid-fire questions. The first from Anthony. Go ahead.
Hi, I heard about the new RSV vaccine. I'm wondering what you think about it, and are there any side effects that I have to worry about?
Dr. Vaisman.
So this RSV, talked about this RSV vaccine has been studied in individuals who are 60 and older. So in Ontario, for example, it's unlikely that people below that age are going to be approved for usage of this vaccine. And the most likely population that's going to receive the vaccine is going to be those who are older than 60 years old and those in the long-term care facilities. That's going to be the area where the province is going to target usage. Also because the vaccine may be of limited supply initially because it's brand new. So generally speaking, the population won't, especially the under 60 population, won't have access to that vaccine or won't be a candidate to receive it. It's still early to know, but we anticipate the side effects to be similar to other vaccines that are protein-based. So this vaccine is not like the mRNA vaccine using that technology. It's a protein subunit vaccine. So very common side effects we might anticipate would be like localized side effects associated with the injection, and then some systemic symptoms in the first 24 to 48 hours, like fevers or headache that are self-limiting. But in terms of the other long-term side effects, we don't have the data quite yet because the randomized trials have only been published recently. So we don't have a lot of data what other side effects can be anticipated.
All right, let's get to the next question from Debbie. Here's what she writes. There's so much confusion around where to access vaccines in general, but where can I get this new RSV vaccine?
So the RSV vaccine at this point, because of limited supply due to it being new, is only going to be available to long-term care homes in this upcoming season, as far as we know.
Will it be administered in long-term care homes?
Yes.
Okay. And the next question comes from our VoxBox in Liberty Village from Bentley. Go ahead.
I've been watching the media, and I noticed that RSV, COVID, and the flu all have similar symptoms. I was wondering how I know which I have, and I was wondering what the different treatment modalities might be. Thank you.
Dr. Prasada.
So yeah, there's no way you can tell them apart just from symptoms, especially in the early phase, the first week. The only way and the most important thing to do is to do a COVID rapid test to try to check if it's a COVID infection and then get the antiviral treatment for that. There's no, unfortunately, there's no doctor that can tell the three apart. And there's a big difference because the COVID is the monster of the three, especially for people at risk. And that second week, when you go from mild symptoms to much worse symptoms, that put you in hospital.
Yeah.
Flu typically tends to come on like you've been hit by a truck. No joke. Sudden onset, headache, fever, sometimes sore throat, cough, runny nose. But the key is its severity. Flu tends to be hard, fast. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule, but it is critical to get tested as early as possible. Because even if you want to go on Tamiflu, which will reduce your symptoms by a lousy half day, but hey, it's something, that has to be started within 48 hours. So the clock starts ticking from the moment symptoms begin. And same with when you're talking COVID-19, you want to get that Paxlovid, good luck. You've got 3 days The clock starts ticking from the moment symptoms begin.
All right, and the next question from Eric, here's what he writes. How contagious is RSV? How does it spread? And what can I do to make sure my loved ones don't get it too? Dr. Vaisman.
So RSV, like other respiratory viruses, are transmitted in a similar fashion. So the same measures that you've been taking to prevent the transmission of COVID or for flu are the same that you would take for prevention of RSV. And as was mentioned, these viruses are indistinguishable. So if you're sick, then it's important to isolate yourself and to mask around your family if you have any symptoms. If you are in public spaces and you are highly immunocompromised or highly vulnerable person, you would take the same measures as you would, let's say, 2 years ago by wearing a mask. Unlike COVID, RSV and flu can be transmitted more readily through inanimate objects or surfaces. So the cleaning of surfaces has more benefit for these viruses than it does for prevention of COVID transmission. So if you're in a household, for example, of somebody who has RSV, although that's unlikely because we don't routinely test for that as outpatients, then you would do those kinds of measures to try to prevent transmission.
And go ahead.
So one thing I would add in general is that for reducing transmission of all these viruses is that really work to get the ventilation improved in your workplace, in your schools. That will prevent a whole host of problems. Like in this building right now, it's a very well ventilated building. I doubt a lot of people will get sick if one of us was sick right now. So that's a huge factor that is within your control, and you can lobby your employer or your school board to really work on that.
All right, we've had a great conversation here. Quick break. We'll be right back.